Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Spirit Rebels, a wonderful magical podcast. I'm Shelley and this is
I'm Helen, and I can't believe we're on episode 5 already. What is happening?
we are storming through these, storming, and I am loving it. I'm loving it. But you know what? I just love the opportunity to talk about all my magical waffly stuff. And once I start, I can't. Well, I struggle to stop, but you know.
That's why we love you, and we've got so much to learn from you, so it's good. We
Well,
enjoy this.
well, today we are going to be hitting a topic that, oh, you know what? We're going to start off and it'll be light and fluffy and wonderful, but then when we get into the real bones of it, it could cause a little discomfort.
Mm.
It might bring up some squishy kind of feelings because today we're going to talk about forgiveness.
Mm.
Now, I honestly think if we talk about enlightenment or being high vibrational or being, spiritual or love filled or any of these other nice labels that we could, aspire to. I believe a big part of that is being able to let go of old shit. And the majority of old shit that we carry, and we carry this old shit as energy in our mind, we carry it in our heart, we carry it in our energy, we carry it in our cells physically. It gets trapped up in our muscles, in our the tissues in our body, in our different organs. This stuff all like just sits in there. And anything that is not high vibrational, anything that is a bit on the lower side of things, or causes us to feel crap, causes further crap. It causes, I honestly believe, and this is a big Louise Hay thing for any Louise Hay fans out there. I honestly believe that, physical illnesses and physical conditions that we can experience come about because of the energy that is trapped, stuck, and
Mm.
rotting, going all stagnant and ming in our bodies. So today we are going to talk about forgiveness because I think forgiving ourselves and forgiving other people for past issues, problems, not pleasant things. I think that's a massive, massive part of being able to bring in lovely, fresh, bright, sparkly energy and getting rid of old, negative, stagnant, horrible energy that actually doesn't feel very nice.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's a really hard topic, and none of us really want to discuss it. But
We're gonna.
like you said, we're going to, and not everything's nice, but no, on a serious note, we need to talk about it because we need to clear ourselves of these blockages and these things that hold us back. And often they say, don't they, like, oh god, this is a bit grim, but people that have, like, say, murdered somebody, and you see loved ones eventually forgiving them, and they say that they need to forgive them for them because they need to be able to move on from that. Thankfully I've never been in that situation, hope I never am, but to somebody else you'd think, but why? How can you just not have all this hate and rage? But actually, where does that hate and rage get you
Absolutely.
ultimately?
Absolutely, because if you're feeling negative thoughts about another person, the other person isn't actually, it's not affecting them at
No.
all. It's only affecting you. If someone has wronged you in the past, be it, I don't know, it could have been like a friend in high school, it could have been someone from a past relationship, it could be a family member, it could be an old boss, whoever. If someone from the past has, wronged you, and you continue to carry the negative feelings around that situation, around that person, yeah, the only person it's actually doing anything to is you.
Mm.
It's holding anger, it's holding frustration, it's holding hurt, it's holding grief, it's holding trauma, it's holding all that stuff in you on all different levels. And negative energy only leads to more negative energy. It stops anything good from getting in. I think I struggled with forgiveness for a long time because I'm one of these people who holds on to everything forever and ever and ever. But I was listening to, I do believe it was Bob Proctor, who is one of the teachers from The Secret, big law of attraction
Yeah.
manifestation teacher. And he actually said to redefine the word forgiveness as abandonment. So when we say we're going to forgive somebody, actually it means we're abandoning them. So
Mm.
it's almost a little bit easier because I kind of think that we find it difficult to forgive somebody who's hurt us in the past because we carry the understanding that if we forgive them, we are saying, actually, what you did to me was all right, when it's not.
Mm.
Forgiveness is not justifying somebody else's, awful behavior or their words or what have you. Forgiving them is actually letting yourself off the hook. It is walking away from that person or that situation. In one of the past episodes, we talked about the fact that your brain can't tell the difference between whether or not you are thinking about a situation or whether you're experiencing it.
Yeah.
So if you, I don't know, say your best friend at the age of 16 betrayed you and she snogged your boyfriend behind the art block at school or whatever. That did not happen to me. And you're still now carrying, either bitterness, resentment, upset, hurt, whatever. If you are allowing those feelings to also impact on how you feel about yourself, or well, actually, I wasn't good enough for her to not betray me. I wasn't good enough for him to not betray me. I was, and those things stick with us. They stay with us, and they can go on to form and reinforce negative beliefs that we hold about ourselves. But every time you think about that situation, whether it happened last week or 3 decades ago, your brain thinks you are back in that actual
Yeah.
situation, and that's what you end up feeling all over again. And this stuff is gone. Yesterday was yesterday, and we've got hundreds and
Mm.
thousands of yesterdays to deal with, but it's gone and it's done. And the more we hold on to this stuff, well, what does it do? It stops us from bringing anything positive in. It continues to reinforce negative beliefs we hold about ourselves or about the world, and it just builds up this feeling of, well, inevitably we bring it back onto ourselves, don't we? If someone else has
Mm.
wronged us, we inevitably end up thinking in some way it was our fault, or blaming ourselves for not being good enough for them or not being good enough for the situation. So all it does is cause more hurt, more upset, more
Mm.
unrest. And we are going to move on to talk about forgiving ourselves in a little while, but I think if we deal with forgiving other people first, then we can move on to the other side of the coin, let's
Yeah.
say. So
Can
if
I
you,
just sorry, can I just jump in because it
yeah,
relates to last week and
oh,
it's really interesting what you're saying as well. So we know last week we were talking about manifesting, we were talking about I'd like to manifest a man. So for those of you that don't know me, trigger warning, I'm just going to talk very briefly, not in any detail, but about domestic violence, which for some is very difficult. 2 years ago, I came out of a domestic violent relationship. Now we are 2 years on the 4th of August. That date is implanted in my brain. And on our final interaction together, I got no closure. No closure at all. Police came, we were separated, etc., etc. And for me, part of what I've been thinking about reflecting on last week's episode is I don't think I've forgiven that from 2 years ago. I don't think I've forgiven him. And then there's me 2 years on trying to manifest love into my life and bring a man in, which relates to everything you've been saying. I think I'm still in the angry, hurt, unforgiving stage, which is another reason it's preventing me. It's because I have tried a couple of relationships since, but they've been a bloody shit show. And so, excuse my
I'm
language.
trying not to laugh.
I know. Well, no, let's laugh at it. My mishaps. Let's turn it into something funny. But so I do wonder if it is all connected, like you say, because ultimately I still have so much anger, resentment, bitterness around what happened 2 years ago. But actually, I'm sure he's moved on with his life, could even be in a new relationship now. And I'm not moving on with my life fully. So actually, the person that it's holding back is me through not forgiving, through not trying to move on.
Absolutely. And again, it comes back to that thing about the fact that if we carry the belief that if we say, I forgive you for that experience, or that thing you did, or the way you treat me, I'm saying it's okay that you did that. when it really it is never going to be okay
Mm.
that that person behaved that way. But we do believe that to forgive someone means to be like, well, it doesn't matter actually. And then there's the other, guess, way to look at it, where if we forgive someone, does that mean we've let them win? We are the weaker person, we're
Yes.
weak. We've just folded. We've let them have the power. But I honestly think we need to redefine this idea of forgiving people, because it takes more courage, it takes more strength, it takes more power, it takes more everything to be the person that actually says, I forgive you, and doesn't mean that, or doesn't allow it to squish them down, but it actually, the process allows you to stand up straighter, to push your boobs out further, to feel more empowered and go, actually, you did this to me, you affected my life and the way that I feel in these ways. I'm forgiving you, which means I'm releasing you from my energy. Because I guess until we do go through the forgiveness process, we constantly carry a little bubble of that person's energy around with us all the time. And yeah, we don't want that. Yak,
Mm.
get out. No way. Ugh, just set me free from it. So if you are trying to forgive somebody for something really not nice that they did or continuously did or whatever, maybe drop the word forgiveness. Drop the word forgiveness, and until you can get to the point where you say, I forgive you, or I forgive him, whatever. I release you. I release you. I abandon you. I unhook you from my energy. I am letting you go. I am banishing you. You can even go one step further with that. But I guess the difference and the trick is that you've got to do it from a place of a more positive emotion, because if you are throwing hate and frustration and rage and anger into the forgiveness, that's not forgiveness. That's
Mm.
just fueling those feelings, because, again, we've said this before, you can't beat negative energy with more negative energy. The only way to beat negative energy is to shine light into it. And
Do you
you've
ever do those cord cutting exercises that they talk
absolutely,
about? Because I've never done
absolutely.
that, but I'm thinking maybe that's something I need to do. So it's not a physical cord cutting, is it a mental cord cutting?
You can do it both ways. You can do it both ways.
Oh,
So,
okay.
one, a nice visual, and I don't think it's up on my YouTube channel at the moment, but I will get it put somewhere at some point. If you just we'll just do this now. Let's just do this now. So close your eyes. Close your
Okay.
eyes. And I want you to think about something that you want to release, get rid of, a person that you want to forgive, whatever it might be. And I want you to see them standing across the other side of the room from you. And you can see this, feel it, sense it, just listen to my voice, kind of go through the motions with it. And I want you to find a cord. And this could be like a black rubbery cord. It could be a bit of string. Doesn't matter what, how it comes to you. A bit of cord that leaves your body from somewhere. Generally, it's your tummy or your heart or your chest. And this cord makes its way across the room to that other person and plugs in with them. Might plug into their tummy or their back or their hand. Doesn't matter where. And once we've got that scenario set up, we're going to call in Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael, we ask that you are with us today, that you take your sword and you slice through these cords of attachment. We ask that any attachment to this person, this situation, be cleansed and cleared from our lives, from our minds and our thoughts, from our heart and our feelings, from our energy in all ways, on all levels. We release this person from our body. We release this person from having any other impact or effect on the way that we view ourselves or life. We ask you to cut these cords of attachment from this person, from those past situations, in order to forgive and to free ourselves so that we may move forward fearlessly and fully and not be held back in the past. And I just want you to see, feel, or sense Archangel Michael swooping in with his big wings and his sword and slicing through that cord. And then the person on the other end of the cord, that cord will shrivel up back into them, and that person will just fade away. They'll fade away until there's nothing there anymore. And then we're going to call in Archangel Raphael. Archangel Raphael, be with us now. Aid us in this healing process. We ask for light, for love, for healing and magic to repair the wounds that this previous attachment has formed, has maintained, and the way that it has impacted us on all levels. And I want you to see, feel, or sense Archangel Raphael moving in close now, placing his hands over the place where that cord entered your body. And that part of the cord again will shrivel up and it will fall off. It will dissolve into dust. It will blow away in the wind. It will vanish. And then light will enter you. It will enter your body where that cord used to be. And you'll see a glow. And you'll feel a warmth. And that warmth is the healing, the angelic healing that Archangel Raphael is bringing you right now. As you finally release and say goodbye to that which you have previously been attached to, the attachment is no more. It is no longer there. All that remains is light, love, and healing. We thank you, Archangel Raphael, and we thank you, Archangel Michael, and we ask you to walk with us every day for the rest of our lives. And now take a big deep breath. And release. And when you're ready, open your eyes and tell me how you feel.
Oh, I feel bloody lush. I've never done one in all this time because I've not really been sure how to. So I felt release. I honestly felt release. My cord came from my heart.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's my heart. I feel like a bit of a pounding in my heart now.
And it's odd because it can bring up some sticky emotions because, you know, when we've been in these relationships, friendships, you know, families, whoever it is that we're, you know, letting go of, that we're releasing and forgiving, it wasn't all bad, or, you know, most of those relationships, you know, weren't all bad. Generally, they would start quite well, or at least you enjoyed it at the moment. You know, when you look back, you might be able to see red flags and say, oh God, why did I, you know, I should have thought this, I should have left then, and I should have whatever. But in that moment, you were happy. In that moment, you were getting what you needed from that relationship. So it's and also the fact that from these relationships and friendships, you have plans. And actually, when you forgive someone, you fall into a bit of a grieving process because you are letting go of the life you thought you were going to live. You know, at one point you were going to be with this person forever, and you were going to have a happy home and raise a lovely family, and they were going to be a massive part of your life. And then they weren't. They showed themselves to be someone you didn't realize that they were, and then everything changed. So the plan that you made needs to be grieved over. You know, you need to pour love into that and allow yourself to, I guess, shift away from the version of you thought you would be in your life with this person, and allow yourself to be the person that you are without that person.
Do you think there's a time limit? Because I keep beating myself up that we're nearly 2 years on and I still feel attachment. I still think about it. I still live and breathe it. I probably, to a degree, still love him, you know. So for all the reasons you just said, you were building a life together and things like that. So do you think we can stop beating ourselves up if it is 2, 3, like you said at the start, it could be decades later? Sometimes we just carry this stuff.
What's 2 years when it comes to eternity, Helen?
Oh, very good, Shelley.
Nothing. And you know, to the universe, time doesn't exist anyway. It's just a human thing. So in the grand scheme of things, when we look at our soul's journey overall, 2 years, 10 years, 50 years even is a blink. It's nothing. And who,
Mm,
and some people may be able to do this in 2 weeks. For other people, it might be, 70 years.
mm,
No, I don't think there's a time limit. I think that self-awareness and being aware of these things helps and helps us move through the process quicker. But who says we have to get through it fast? It's
mm,
maybe more about being kinder to ourselves and giving ourselves what we need as we move through, because it is a healing process. It really is. And you'll have days where you can look and you kind of go back into that little visual exercise I talked you through, and that cord won't be there. It'll be gone still, and the angels will be stood there, and you'll be like, oh, yay, great, I'm doing really well. And then other days you'll go into it and the cord will be back, and you'll go, oh, I really thought I got rid of that. And you can just go through that exercise all over again. And you can move through the exercise in lots of different ways. One of the things, I'll talk about some practical stuff in a moment. But I guess attachment is a little bit like habit, and we have to, if you were a smoker, just because I took that cigarette out of your hands doesn't mean you can't go to the shop and buy some more. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
When we are practiced at thinking about that person, at feeling sorry for that person sometimes, at loving that person, at maybe even blaming ourselves for the situation that came about, or feeling hate and anger towards a person, when we practice feeling something every day over and over and over, it becomes a habit. If you were to get up every morning for, I don't know, a year, and have and use a particular mug, that would become your morning mug, wouldn't it? That would be
It
your
would. It
habit.
would.
And then if someone, your daughter was washing dishes and she dropped that mug, you'd be like, oh my God, what am I going, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to have to get a different mug. This is going to be different. Oh, my tea might not taste the same. And oh, it's not the same shape. And do you know what I mean? These things become habits. So it takes us a little while to practice the new habit. So when we get rid of something, the law of reciprocity, we're coming back to these universal laws again. The law of reciprocity tells us that if something leaves us, it must be filled. It will create a void that has to be filled up. And if we don't fill it with something good, well, that old bad sticky stuff's going to zoom straight back in there, which is
Mm,
why there's loads of cord cutting, meditations and visualizations, a lot of them involving Archangel Michael, where, you cut the cord, did it? And that's normally where it ends. But it's so important that if we, eliminate something from your energy, we fill it up with something good, which is why I called in Archangel Raphael to bring the healing and fill it with the light and the lovely glowy stuff, so that it's not just an empty space ready to, take in mucky energy anymore. But no, there is no, going back to what you said, there is no time limit on these things. We all take different times to be able to do it. On a practical level, there's some things we can do. I do loads of cord cutting and releasey stuff with my witches. If you take 2 candles,
mhm,
and on one candle engrave your name, on the other candle engrave the other person's name, and then tie them together with a piece of string or ribbon or whatever. I like using black candles and black string, black ribbon. Black is, it's not because it's all witchy and goth like or anything. Black actually absorbs negativity, so it's the best color to use for any sort of release work or banishment work. Light your candles and allow yourself to think about the attachment in there, the connection between the two. And then you can snip the cord that is joining the 2 candles together, or you can use a third candle to burn it, so it just kind of snaps and pulls apart, and then let the 2 candles burn down all the way to the bottom. You are then kind of, it's a little magical ritual or spell that you can use to help the release process. So you can do the visual or the energetic work and then do something practical. You could go to the coast if you're near the coast. When the tide is on its way out, you could write that person's name in the sand and just let the tide wash it away. You could take a seashell and write that person's name and throw it out into the tide and let the tide take it away. Anything symbolic that will, take the thing that represents the other person further away from you.
mm.
Anything like that would work.
I love it. I live right by the beach, as do you. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and take a pen and write his name on a pebble.
Yeah, yeah. Pebbles are
And I'm
great.
going to throw it out to sea.
Yeah,
And because then I'm physically seeing it go
yeah.
as well. So
Absolutely,
I like
absolutely.
that
Yeah,
idea a
don't
lot.
take
And I
it.
love being by water, and water brings me peace. So I feel like I've got that, getting rid of that, throwing it out to sea, seeing it, but where somewhere, by something that gives me peace and comfort.
Absolutely. And also when you're at the coast, it is the water represents emotion. So you've got that emotional support from the water element as well. So it's a
Oh,
lovely place to
love
do any
it.
kind of work like that. Um, you can, I mean, there's lots of different ways to get rid of people using magic from your life. But the hardest thing to do is to do it while you are sent, like, not necessarily, you don't even have to send love to that person. You just have to not send the hate or the
Mm,
anger or the pain. It's just about sending out the most positive emotion that you can while you are going through with it. And again, it's about reminding yourself that when you're throwing that pebble out or doing the release work, that you're doing this, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for you. You're doing
yeah.
it so that you feel better. You are removing this person from your energy, from your mind.
Mm,
And you know what? Yeah, you might still think about them, but if you work on something like this, you won't think about
mm,
them with the anger or the pain.
mm.
And hopefully it'll stop you from it'll stop it from fueling the negative beliefs that we hold
Yeah.
about
'Cause
ourselves.
I don't actually wish any pain or harm to him at all. I want him to hopefully deal with his issues and demons so that he doesn't do that again. This is genuinely about my healing. But I hear what you're saying, because, and that's, so we're, I think it's really good you say that, because it's not about hating or being awful to that other person. That's what are we putting out there. It is about being able to move on, isn't it, and heal from that situation. And that's really important.
And it's useful. But the other thing with forgiveness is that, when we are forgiving someone else, when we are letting somebody else off the hook, it is useful to examine our own place in the story that we have told ourselves about the event, the occurrence, or the
Mm,
relationship or whatever, because we can carry thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about the way somebody else has behaved towards us. We can take those experiences and we can turn them on ourselves. So, and I'm not saying you have to feel like this or you should feel like this, but I know some of the clients I've worked with who've come out of similar type relationships, they still, if we dig down, they still carry a bit of guilt about why didn't I see it before it happened? I should have left.
mm,
My child was exposed to this. All this stuff that brings up a bit of guilt. This shame stuff comes up as well
yeah.
about, well, this actually, I let this happen. What, and even to the point of, what did I do to deserve this? And nobody deserves to be, treated like this.
Mm,
But they are very uncomfortable, nasty little thoughts that wiggle into our mind about, things that have happened to us due to somebody else's choices, I guess. So
mm,
it's important when we are forgiving the other person and releasing them from our energy that we actually forgive ourselves for anything we believe that you know we did or whatever. We need to forgive ourselves for not being observant enough or
yeah.
not questioning it. Forgiving yourself for actually trusting somebody, because if you have a situation where you look back and go, I never should have trusted them, it's likely you're going to end up with trust issues as you move forward, and you're going to stop yourself from trusting people who deserve your trust
Yeah.
moving forwards.
Yeah.
So, forgiving yourself for the part that, not that you played necessarily, because it's not like people do things to deserve that, but it's about anything that our brains, our self-critical brains, can find a way to pick us apart and say that it's our fault. It was our fault for being there,
Mm,
for saying that, well, if only I'd not gone to that place, if only I hadn't said that thing, if only I hadn't looked at them in that particular way, if only I hadn't, suggested something I knew that they weren't going to like, or whatever, so it's about forgiving ourselves for not just the way that we feel, but also forgiving ourselves for even giving ourselves any blame. Like the forgiveness kind of comes on all different levels. It's like, well, actually, I blamed myself for that situation. Right, well, I'm going to forgive myself for the hard time I gave myself because of that. So that's about forgiving yourself when it comes to somebody else, your interaction with somebody else's actions and behaviors. But what about those times? And we all have them. I was talking to Paul about this the other day, that, you think back over your life and there are situations that crop up that maybe it's when you were a kid, maybe it's in your teens, 20s, 30s, whenever, the way that you've spoke to someone, a decision that you made, the way that you acted at the time, that right now you wouldn't do that again. And when you think about it, you go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. That was awful. Oh my God, I can't believe I said that to that person. I can't believe I behaved in that way. I can't believe I went through with that, whatever it was. And we still carry that shame, the guilt, so we need to learn to forgive ourselves for the stuff that we did in the past as well. Can you think of things? I'm not asking you to share, but can do you have a lifetime's worth of, oh my God?
Oh my goodness, yes. And something happened just the other week where I said something and afterwards I was like, oh my God, how I got that so wrong, and I was completely beating myself up. And it wasn't any, it wasn't going to end the world. It wasn't horrible, but it was just a sort of mistake. And yeah, I'm still, this happened about 3 weeks ago. I'm still think about it now and go, oh my God, I can't believe you said that.
Absolutely. So when you have those thoughts, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. What does that do to you inside? What does that do in terms of your opinion about yourself in your head?
I get frustrated with myself because well, I'll just tell you the situation so it makes sense. I basically said to somebody, oh, I didn't know you were pregnant, and they weren't pregnant. I know, it's that thing. And this lovely woman, she is all in proportion, but she just had, and it looked so like a bump. And I thought, oh, because I hadn't seen her in a while. And she was amazing. She took it so well. She was like, oh no, I'm not pregnant. I've just got a few gynecological issues at the moment.
Oh, bless her.
I felt so bad. I kept apologizing. And she's like, oh, don't be ridiculous. It's absolutely fine. But I felt like I've never wanted a hole in the ground to come along so quickly and just pull me under. I felt so bad, and I meant it. It was just a genuine. We were just catching up, and oh God, yeah. I still look. You can't see me, listeners, but honestly, Shelley can. I feel awful now just thinking about it. Like I just can't believe I said it.
I'm trying not to laugh.
God. And I bet you half our listeners are probably listening going, I've done that. I've done that. But then they'll also know how shit you feel.
And I think, part of that, we do not know. I mean, all we know is how she told you she felt afterwards, as in, don't worry about it. She gave you an explanation, there's all that sort of stuff. What we do then is we go on to create a little narrative. Oh, actually, I've really hurt her feelings, and I've said this,
yes.
and now 3 weeks later, she's sitting at home with her other half going, that bitch, I can't believe she said that.
And I was thinking, what if she goes on a massive diet? Because this woman's not even big. She's really slim. I was going, what if she goes on a massive diet thinking that I've basically called her fat, which is what I haven't. It was just the fact that her stomach was a perfect tummy shape, Honestly, I've beat myself up for weeks now going, I might have destroyed this woman through that innocent comment. I can't believe I put it out on the podcast. She may even listen. And then we're rehashing the whole thing. So please forgive me. You know who you are. Please forgive me.
Oh my gosh. So this is about forgiving yourself. So you know what? At some point we have to make the decision to say, right, it's time. It's absolutely time to stop beating myself up about this, because that is literally just fueling all the negative beliefs that you've got about yourself. It just continue to, pour fuel on that fire, let us say. So we need to learn to forgive ourselves. Now, Denise Duffield Thomas, who is another one of my favorite teachers in all of the universe, she wrote a book called Get Rich Lucky Bitch. She's written
I've
quite a
got
few.
it.
Yeah, she's fab. I love her. She honestly believes, and she teaches, that in terms of manifestation, you can't get anywhere if you don't forgive yourself for everything and anything. And I actually have done what she suggested in her book, which is to get a forgiveness jar. I went to IKEA. I have a glass. It's like a bit like a cookie jar with a little stopper top, and I bought a little, those like note blocks where you get like different colors and things.
Yeah.
I bought a note block, and it is beside my bed. And to be honest, I've not been as good lately with this, but I started off. This is me inconsistency completely. I started off really well. And I take a little note thing and I write on. I forgive myself for the time that and then I write the situation out. I put on the back, I put all my Reiki symbols, because I'm a Reiki girl and Reiki
Yeah.
helps everything. And I also write out the Ho'oponopono phrases, which is, as we mentioned last time, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I'm going to talk about a bit more about that in a moment or two, because I think it's a really helpful tool. And then I put my little notelet, I think about it, and I put my little notelet in my cookie jar. And then every now and again, I will lift my notelets out and just pick one at random, think about it. Is that situation still causing me to go on the inside? Or can I read it and go, oh, all right now? And if it's all right, I'll burn it. I'll get rid. It's gone. It's done. If it's still
Okay.
causing me grief, I'll keep it in my cookie jar and I'll continue to work on it. For me, I would Reiki it, I'll Ho'oponopono it. But situate, and you know what? Once you start going through your life, looking at situations you need to forgive yourself for, or forgiving other people for, because I've got other people in there as well. It's so many that you don't realize you're holding on to. So I started doing it purely for like finance and business growth and things. And I mean, even things like looking back to, I don't know, when I was younger and hearing my mother say, oh, you're just useless with money. Boom. There you go. Nice little belief, wiggled its way in there. So I believe
Yeah.
I'm useless with money. And if you believe you're useless with money, you'll never attract any more, because, well, what you're going to do, you're going to waste it. You're not going to spend on the right things. You're going to frivol it away or whatever. Frivol, fritter, waste, whatever it may
Yeah.
be. Um, so, there was two. So, number one, I forgive my mother for telling me when I was 10 years old that I'm useless with money. Next post-it note, I forgive myself for all of the times in my life I have not used my money on things that made me happy. Next post-it note, I forgive myself for all the times that I have not spent money because other people have put pressure on me not to spend my money when I wanted to.
Yeah.
You can just start picking these things apart. You can look at the way you've spoken to people and forgive yourself for different instances with those. You can look at, your body. I forgive myself for all the times I've criticized my body. Next post-it note, I forgive myself for all the times that I have fed my body unwisely. Next post-it note, I forgive myself for all the times that I have eaten rubbish food believing it is, self-care, because eating rubbish food isn't so. We can tell ourselves at the time, ooh, I'm having a self-care night with ice cream, pizza and wine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it feels like it at the time, but 3
For
days
that one
later
evening.
you feel awful. That's not self-care. Self-care is lasting. You can go through all this different stuff. Forgive yourself. I forgave myself for times when I have God, I went right through school and thought about my different school friends and different relationships. I have forgiven myself for all the times that I've thought myself to be acting stupid, and the more specific that you can be, to pinpoint a situation, and you will end up with a lot of these little notes, but you can't do anything with them if you don't look them in the face.
Yeah. Well, I've written a note down here, cookie jar. I think it's great. It's not something I've ever done or heard of. I'm going to, because although I have a book, I've only read part of it, not all of it.
Oh, read more, read more.
So I am going to do the cookie jar. I will report back.
Forgiveness jar. Forgiveness jar,
Yeah. Oh,
forgiveness
well,
jar.
yeah, not cookie jar. You know what
Yeah.
I mean. I'm going to get the cookie jar, the
Yeah.
forgiveness jar.
So if
Listeners, you know how I work now.
yeah.
I'm a bit forgetful.
So if we're going to do this, I would recommend, so you write the situation on the front, then on the back, write the 4 Ho'oponopono phrases. So we need to know a little bit more about what this Ho'oponopono business is. So your phrases are, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Now, I love this, especially when it comes to forgiveness work, because it okay, if I have to think of how to forgive someone by myself or to forgive myself by myself, I'd be a bit like, oh, I don't really know how to do this. What do I think? Nice things? What, what should I say? What should I do? Whereas if you just throw Ho'oponopono in, it takes the decision out of things, because this just cleans energy. It will clean your vibration. It will just clean the energy. And what I want to say, and this is, especially if you are trying to forgive somebody else from your past or current life or whatever, when you're saying, I love you, I'm sorry, you're not saying it to that other person. You're saying it to yourself and you're saying it to the universe, and it's not, you say, I love you, and then, as in to the universe, your higher self, I'm sorry. And it's not a grovelly, oh my God, I'm so, so sorry, I'm so useless. It's just I'm sorry, I didn't know any better at the time. That's who I was at the time. And I'm sorry that I didn't know any better at the time. The way that we act every day of our lives, we only can do what we know at that time. And one of the reasons why guilt or shame is so powerful, it's because we are constantly growing and expanding and evolving, and our understanding of ourselves and what we want for ourselves and who we want to be continues to grow and expand, so that when we look back on our younger selves and go, oh, I didn't know any better, it's like, and it's hard not to fall into, well, I was just stupid back then. I was a nasty person back then. I'm just not a good person, clearly. You were who you were at that time. And each day is a different chapter in our lives. We can start afresh every day. And by reaching for that next best version of ourselves, and by releasing and letting go the stuff that stops us from being that next best version of ourselves, we are choosing the path of enlightenment, of spiritual development, of growth, of expansion, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's really, really important. I feel like I've gone off on a tangent.
No, I think it is really important. And again, I've written it down with my pad. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's something I'm going to try and bring and implement into my life, actually, because it's not something I'd heard of before or ever done. And I love trying new things.
Yeah. So Ho'oponopono, if you look on, and again, I'm not going for a sneaky plug, but if you look on my Shelley Magic website, not website, YouTube channel, I'll pop the links out as well. I have a 10-minute Ho'oponopono, and it's just a repetition of I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, done kind of meditation styley. So you can have a listen to that, and whatever your thoughts are going through your mind while you are listening to it, that is where it'll go and clean up for you. It will help you raise your vibration and forgive and release. So I'll pop that on there as well.
I'll definitely have a listen.
So I think that is us for this episode.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I've
it
left
is a
her reeling.
difficult one.
Look at that. I think it
I
was
know.
the angelic healing we did. She's just,
Honestly, I really needed that. And it's and to be talked through it was really important for me, because I'm not naturally, I don't have all these things up my sleeve to know what to do. And that's where you're amazing, Shelley. Yes, another compliment. You must learn to take it. And I'm just so grateful that I have you now to learn all this from, and so do our listeners, because it's really important that even if this just helps one other person bring a different tool into their life that they can try to help with the situation, fantastic. That's all we want to do, is bring hopefully laughter, but just some really great tools into people's lives that they can use on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever it is. So yeah, I have to say I was a bit nervous about today's episode, because who wants to talk about forgiveness, and it's a difficult one. But I think actually it's really, really important, and it's made me think I'm going to go away and do some homework. And I think a bit of honesty work with myself of some areas I do need to forgive. And I think it's okay now to say, yeah, actually, Helen, it's okay. You can forgive yourself. So I'm hugely grateful as ever for your amazing wisdom with these things. So just thank you so very much. And I hope, listeners, you've learned as much as I have today. And please forgive me for my mess up with my person that I met. I am a good person, really, and I'm still deeply upset that I said that. So if any of you have ever made a big taboo like that, please let us know on our socials, because it'll make me feel better, if nothing else.
Absolutely. Just before we sign off for today, one really simple thing that you can do, and you can do it if you're doing forgiveness work for yourself, or if you are, trying to get into a mindset where you can forgive somebody else. Just something simple like light a tea light or just a candle. Just light it, carry the intention the light is going into the situation. If you can send the light into the other person, brilliant. If you're not quite there yet, just light the candle for the situation, and the light of that candle and your intention will put healing into that situation. And it's not going to bring that person back into your life or anything like that. It is literally just to clean up the energy between you and that past experience, the attachment, etc. So yeah, so just something simple like lighting a candle. If you can get to the point where you can allocate the candle to a person and light it for them, that is a really good thing. But baby steps, one step at a time. Light a candle for yourself. Just go get yourself a nice pink candle or a purple candle that's a nice color. You can engrave it with your name if you want to, or stick a sticker if it's a glass jar one. And then just light it and go, this candle's for me. And that's all you need to do. It's just carrying that intention that actually the light and the energy of that little flame burning is just for you.
Love it. What a way to end. I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
What's
you.
the thing we have to say? Like, follow, subscribe, download,
all that, comment,
all of that jazz.
Yeah, like us. Tell us all the good things. And yeah, we're going to be back next week. And next week, oh God, Helen, we've not ordered this very well at all, because we've done a really heavy one, like forgiveness. And we're gonna next week we're talking about body image and how we feel about bodies.
Oh my goodness, another toughie then, because
Yeah,
definitely for me that's a challenge. So well, I look forward to that. We've got to deal with it head on, Shelley. We're going to deal with these things.
We do indeed, because you know what, if you're not aware of it, you can't heal it, and I believe there is nothing that cannot be healed.
Exactly. Well, what a way to end. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.